In this video, I'll tell you how you can increase your credit score in the fastest way possible by 100 points or more just within a few days. What's up, winners? My name is Nam. If you're new here, welcome. Here we talk all things personal finance and credit. Start now by subscribing so you don't miss out on any future videos. Your credit score is probably one of the most important things when it comes to personal finance. And yet, it's a concept that is most misunderstood because this is one of the topics that really does not get taught in schools. You just get thrown into wild and you have to figure it out on your own. I know that there's YouTube and you can learn everything that you need on there, but unless YouTube is actively recommending it or you are searching it, you just may never know. And of course, credit is not for everyone because it is very polarizing. Some people are all for it and some people are totally against it. For me, if used properly, you can really leverage your lifestyle and use it to your advantage. Credit typically affects you one way or another unless you pay everything with cash, which most do not have the ability to. The first thing that you got to understand about credit scores is that it is just based on your habits. Whether your score is high or low, this will affect how well you use your credit. So you can hire a credit repair company to remove negative items from your report, but at the end of the day, it's just gonna be you moving forward. So this is something that no credit repair agency can fix for you because this is something that you have to fix yourself. With that said, the quickest way to increase your credit score dramatically is by paying off your credit card balances and reduce loans that you may have. I know this sounds very simple and common knowledge, but you can't believe the amount of credit reports I've seen and know people who are only paying the minimums every single month because they believe this will help with their credit score. Now, the only way that this would help your credit score is by paying on time, and it adds to your payment history portion of your score. So this plays about 35% of your overall FICO credit score. And FICO credit scores is basically the only credit scores that you should focus on, since this is what most lenders will take a look at. Now, if you were to pay down your credit card balances, this would have a dramatic effect on the amounts owed portion of your score. Now, depending on when you pay the balance, you can see this reflected on your score in a matter of a few days or even up to 30 days. The key here is to make sure that you pay off your balances prior to the closing date. Every single credit card that you have open will have this. All this means is that you have this little window. So whenever you use your credit card and once that 30-day window closes, hence the closing date, this will be the information that gets reported to the credit bureaus. Now, there are 3 major credit bureaus that you gotta focus on, but there are hundreds of them out there. So the 3 most important ones are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So just by paying off your credit card balances, this will lower your credit utilization. Now, what credit utilization is the amount of balances that you have compared to your overall limit. To break this down a little bit further, your balance is essentially how much credit that you are using. Your credit limit is how much money the banks and lenders are willing to extend to you. Now, if you have a balance of $1,000 across all of your credit cards and you have a total credit limit of $10,000, this will mean that you have a utilization rate of 10%. As mentioned before, the amounts owed or debt portion of your credit score plays about 30%. To get more granular, since credit cards are considered revolving lines of credit, meaning that your balances will fluctuate month to month, it is more risky for lenders to give you this type of credit. On the other hand, if you were to get a loan, they know exactly how much they should expect to get paid every single month until the balance is paid. Now, keeping your credit utilization on your balances as low as possible prior to the closing date will have the greatest effect on your credit score. I would recommend trying to pay off your balances as much as you possibly can, preferably less than 10% of your overall credit limit, because the lower the better, and you can even pay it off to 0 if you like, which is what I typically do on a monthly basis. So depending on who your credit card company is, you may be able to set this as an auto payment prior to the closing date. If not, you can always pay your balances as soon as you make transactions. That way, you know the balance is low, even though if you don't know exactly when the closing date is for that particular credit card. That is the biggest and fastest way to increase your credit score. But as a side note, when it comes to loan, it is a little bit different. If you were to pay off your loan that you had for months or even years, you will generally see a dip in your credit score once it is paid off. Because once paid, this account now becomes closed. So the best strategy with loans is to pay as much as you possibly can upfront while keeping a small enough balance to keep it active until the time is up. For instance, let's just say that you had a $1,000 loan. If you were to pay $800 of it right away or when you have the ability to, this will show all of your credit reports as a loan balance almost being paid off. So if you were to prepay your loans, this will make your payments much smaller or even 0 for months in advance. So this is definitely a good strategy if you want to manufacture your credit score with loans. Now let's move on to the next tip on how you can increase your credit score very fast. A lot of the time, people are new to credit and they may not have a credit profile. What this essentially means is that the credit bureaus or the companies that judge you based on your credit behaviors don't have enough information to give you a score. This means that you don't have enough credit cards, loans, or other credit information to report. So on that note, this brings me to today's video sponsor, Credit Strong. Credit Strong is a division of the highly rated Austin Capital Bank, and they have helped many with their credit. Credit Strong has different products that can help you. For instance, they have a no credit check building product called Revolve that helps you build revolving credit. It's the same type of credit as a credit card, but it is not actually a credit card. The way it works is by setting a low payment option to keep your utilization low. But the interesting part is that your payment goes towards your savings. Essentially, you're paying yourself, meanwhile building credit. You can get all of your savings back after your account unlocks 1 year after opening, and all you would have to pay is an annual fee of $99. Once the account is open, it immediately gets reported as a $500 line of revolving credit to all 3 of the major credit bureaus. Your credit line can also be increased to $1,000 in $100 steps each time you make 3 consecutive payments. This can further benefit your credit utilization and your credit profile since you have more credit available. And the best part is that you can cancel at any time with no fees or penalties. If you have a thin credit profile or looking to build credit, start with Credit Strong, link in the description. So with having a thin credit profile, the easiest fix is essentially adding more accounts to your profile. Now, since the credit history is limited, the type of products that are available to you may have lower limits or smaller loans. And this is perfectly fine because once you start building a profile, which can take anywhere between 6 months to sometimes a year, maybe it could be quicker, but that's just a ballpark number that you should shoot for. So the most common things that you can do to start building your profile is by signing up for a credit card or secure credit card, credit builder loan, or using utilities or rent as a credit builder. Companies like Credit Strong, they offer a bunch of these products that you can use to help build credit, and there are plenty of other fintechs that offer products that are very similar to this. They all have their own variations and niches, and I have plenty of them down in the description if you want to check them out, or you can just watch my reviews on them on this channel. But the majority of these type of accounts generally do not pull your credit, and they are relatively easy to get approved for. Now, the main goal with these types of accounts is to establish a credit profile, which means that you still have to have good credit behaviors, such as paying your accounts on time and keeping your balances low if you decide to get a credit card. So you'd really only need a few of these accounts to start building your credit journey. But on the other hand, for those who already established a credit profile, then you really have to look at where you can diversify. If you never had any type of loan before, then it may make sense to get a credit builder loan or vice versa with credit cards. But if you have had credit cards and loans before, then these credit building products may not have that much of an impact. Now, another method to add more accounts to your credit profile is to get added on as an authorized user or possibly purchasing trade lines. So what a trade line is essentially an account that gets reported to your credit profile. This includes credit cards, personal loans, and mortgages. Now, this may not be available to everyone, but if you are able to get added onto a family member's or a spouse's credit card account as an authorized user, this may be the quickest way to gain a credit score and profile, because you essentially adopt that credit card information. For instance, if my mom had a credit card that she had for 15 years and I get added on as an authorized user, I can adopt 15 years of credit information. Now, the best way to approach this is by getting added on to another person's account, but actually not using the account. Anytime anyone takes on someone as an authorized user, they take on a level of risk because the original account holder is the one who's responsible for all the charges that are made on that account. Like if I were to add my son on one of my credit cards and he runs up $1,000 for playing Fortnite, I'm responsible to pay off that $1,000 and he is not. So that's the angle that I would approach if you wanted to get added on to someone's account as an authorized user. Now, I get that not everyone has someone to get added on as an AU, but you can always buy a trade line. So there are plenty of suppliers out there like Tradeline Supply, which is probably one of the biggest companies out there. How buying trade lines work is that you essentially buy your way into someone's account. Now, it is best to find an account that's old. I prefer having something at least 5 years or older or has a credit limit of at least $10,000. So the older and the higher the credit limit, the better the trade line will be. Since these are higher in demand, they will usually cost more, and the price can vary anywhere between $500 to $1,000. Now with trade lines, I don't typically recommend this first since they do cost money and they may not have the intended effect, because it really depends on a lender whether or not they take into account those authorized user accounts. The reason being is that primary accounts, which are based on your name and social security number, will have much more of an impact compared to someone else's. Let's just say that you're trying to get a car loan or a mortgage. This requires much more underwriting from a lender's perspective because they're dealing with much more money and they want to make sure that they can get that money back. So if they see that most of your credit is built by another credit profile, then they may not take those into consideration. Also, buying trade lines and getting added on as an AU will have less of an effect over time. So if you are considering this route, it is best to hop onto their account for at least 90 days prior to the type of lending that you are seeking, whether it is a credit card or even a loan. Because when it is freshly reported to your credit profile, this is where you will get an instant boost. Now, the next strategy to increase your credit score as fast as possible is to actually repair your credit. What credit repair is essentially the attempt to remove inaccurate or incomplete information from your credit report. Because there are laws and regulations that pertain to credit reporting for things that can or cannot be reported based on accuracy. Now, in other words, if you have a late payment with Chase, but if Chase reported that information incorrectly, this would be a valid reason to get the late payment removed. So if you can remove negative or incorrect info, this will give you an instant credit boost. There are plenty of services out there that can repair your credit, and there are also plenty of ways to do it yourself. Additionally, I do have a free credit report template that you can use down in the description, and I also have courses on this topic if you would like to go for the DIY approach. From a cost perspective, doing it yourself will be the cheapest route rather than hiring a company. But if you don't have the time to do it yourself, then hiring a company would be the next best option. Now, I would always recommend whenever you are trying to hire a company, find out if they have a money-back guarantee within a certain amount of time, because you should be able to see some sort of results within the first 9 days. One last thing that you have to keep in mind about credit repair is that it's never 100% guaranteed. Whether you do it by yourself or hire a company, no company or agency or program can guarantee you results. But usually this is the next best option because you never know unless you try. Building credit is definitely a long play and it is a marathon. But if you're trying to increase your score as fast as possible, these will be the best ways to give you the quickest results. If you guys found this video helpful, make sure you give this video a like because that really helps support the channel. I also do have a weekly newsletter that talks about credit and personal finance. It will be down in the description as well. And if you want to hang out with me some more and learn more about credit, make sure you check out these videos over here.